an investor doing things on your own? How about someone working with a firm that isn't so responsive or in sync with your investment philosophy? My podcast talks you through all things financial. Look, there's stuff you don't deal with very often, but investments, insurance, and retirement is something we plan for each and every day. This is the Pennywise Financial Podcast, and welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Pennywise Financial Podcast. This is Constantine here at Monarch Wealth Management with my guest today, Jean Oswald from CompassionateConsulting.com. Welcome to the show, Jean.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Likewise. I always like to start off the show by introducing the guest and kind of having you tell us more about your background, how you got started, and what it is that you actually provide to your clients.
Okay. Well, I raised a large family in the 1980s and returned to nursing some 12 years later and began it strong. I say that I paid my dues and worked 6 years on a med-surg floor in an ICU step-down unit. And then I went out into the community and began teaching IV therapy to families. And I managed a caseload and did a little private duty. And along the way, I was in school for energy healing work and aromatherapy and a number of other things. I gained some certifications as a natural health professional. And then as my kids were getting older, I went part-time and began doing hospice work in one of the local agencies and got some experience under my belt there, and then continued. I was involved with the Monroe County Medical Society's Integrative Health Committee and was encouraged to start sharing essential oils in the community. I got very interested in integrative health and functional medicine. So down the road, I just kept working part-time, and I opened my business, Compassionate Consulting, 15, 20 years ago. And even though I started as a health coach, I eventually got very deep into hospice work and worked in some local comfort care homes in town and surrounding area, and eventually just turned Compassionate Consulting into end-of-life consulting full-time.
Wow. And I have to say, please forgive me, and I have to imagine this might be something that my client base also doesn't know. I didn't even know that people like you existed to offer, people some help.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a big umbrella behind me. I don't work for URMC or Rochester Regional. So, people like me are not as well known, but I love what I do, and I'm out in the community serving people in a variety of ways. I used to teach classes on essential oils, so I've always been comfortable doing teaching. I was an IV therapy teacher, and I just love being able to help people lessen their anxiety around, frightening medical issues. And so people come to me in a variety of stages. Someone may have just been diagnosed as a client recently, and they just want emotional support right now before they even consider hospice or anything else because they're in active treatment. I've been in other people's homes where the family didn't quite recognize that their loved one was actively dying. So I was able to quickly get some equipment and some care in the home so that they could die peacefully. There's just such a wide range is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you actually bring up a good point, and I was going to ask that. So walk me through the cycle. Like, step one, who's reaching out to you, and how did they find out? Is it referral based from, let's say, one of the local homes, or is it hospice that says, hey, you really should reach out to someone like Jean, hand out your business card, and then one of the children or family members would reach out and say, hey, look, we really need some help?
Yeah, right now it's still mostly word of mouth, although I have an email list. People subscribe to my newsletter, which comes out once a month. So I've had just a few hundred people on my email list for about, more than 10 years. So these people have watched me go from being a health coach into working with the aging and people with serious illness, people at end of life. Definitely through my work in the comfort care homes and the other jobs I've had, people know me and make referrals. I've also, been connected to local funeral homes, um, just some different groups there. So word of mouth primarily.
And so what does the first meeting look like? Is it a conversation? Is it one-on-one? Is it on the phone? What happens in that very first session?
Yeah. Usually it's a phone call and sometimes it's set up. I do have a calendar. People can make appointments with me online. But that first phone call is kind of like, tell me what's going on. What is your situation like? Are you someone who does have a serious illness, or are you a family member of someone who does, or are you a friend? Someone just called me last week and it was their favorite aunt. So that first conversation is me getting an idea, and this is a free phone call, me getting an idea of where they are in the process of illness and then what their needs are. And the second step is usually for me to put my eyes on the person. Now, if they're just, still up and around and going to appointments and enjoying grandchildren or whatever, they might just need a phone call, a further consultation. I meet with people to get their advance directives in order, getting that whole process completed from the conversation to the New York State forms, which would be recognized by their doctor's office in the emergency room. So people do come to me in a variety of stages, but the second conversation would be typically a visit to the home to see who is sick. And by putting my eyes on them, because nurses need to have our eyes on them, I can see if they're struggling to breathe. Maybe they have constant nausea. Maybe they're in pain and they're afraid to take pain medication. Maybe they need help and they don't know where to get help. Maybe I've had people in the hospital who aren't safe to go home. They need rehab. What can they have in rehab? And I just had a phone call yesterday. Somebody wanted care in their home. They didn't want to go to rehab. So I don't give bedside care 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day. I do know some caregivers. If you don't know, I'll tell you that there's a very big shortage of nurses and aides in our community.
Oh, 100%. You're
So
totally right.
it can be hard to find people, but I do have a list of some caregivers. And then, in that second consultation, which can go for 2 to 3 hours in the home, I just really assess what the needs are. I speak to the family. If the person is in bed and they're not talking anymore, I just need to get my eyes on them. I look for signs and symptoms of where they are in the process at end of life or such. So that's how it goes. And then depending on how much more support they want or help, I remain available. So it can be another phone call, another visit. It just depends on what the needs are.
So who is your real client? Is it the sick family member? Could be mom, dad, could be an aunt, could be a cousin, a brother, sister, sibling, or is it the family that's going through a lot of emotions, and I'm sure medical terminology and decision making that a lot of them have never faced, never thought they would be in that position to make. I can tell you, I've been through that before, and a lot happens pretty quickly, and I become overwhelmed. And my lack of knowledge and experience in that field makes me second guess, am I making the right choice? And with your background in nursing, I mean, that has to add a different element when you're helping people through this process.
It definitely does. And I took care of someone last year who had been a long-term client, and their family lived out of state. They had some family here, but mostly I was connecting back with the family out of state. And so, yes, I'm the eyes and ears at times. I'm the one who knows how to communicate with the physicians or nurse practitioners, whomever, about what's actually happening as they're progressing in their disease. So I'm so sorry. I think I forgot your question.
Well,
Oh,
go ahead.
you said that, because of my background in nursing, yes, I do know how to navigate conversations. I know how to explain things in fifth grade terms. I think you asked me, who is my client? Is it the family member or the person who's ill? And it can be either, and it can be both. And
That makes sense.
I think that I have been, clients have told me that I do a really good job of explaining medical things calmly, slowly, so that, it may feel overwhelming to them, but at least now they have a better understanding of where we are now, what's needed, and quite honestly, that I'm really helping take care of a lot of details that they wouldn't know.
Now, much of the planning that I do with my client base is, kind of a progression through life, and some it may be starting in their mid 40s, and then others that may be starting, work with them in their 70s. And I think our one of our older clients now is maybe 95. I had a 96-year-old at one point in time that was still downhill skiing, not married, no kids, and so they have different uh, I guess, ailments as they go through this aging process. Um, what I'm wondering, because obviously we help clients with a lot of the financial aspects of what they're trying to do, but there is some emotion involved in a lot of this, even through the decision making process. I'm curious what your take is on how end of life planning could impact a person's financial situation, both for themselves and or maybe for the loved ones, because I'm sure a lot of times it's mom and dad, or mom or dad is sick and ill and not doing well, and they've only been given a very short period of time.
Absolutely. And you bring up such good points, Constantine. So to answer you, I would say preparation is just so helpful. Anytime we're unprepared, that's when we get overwhelmed, things feel chaotic. So
So
yeah,
true.
and financially I can say a little bit about that. A lot of people don't know that, let's say if someone is in their end of life stages and they come into hospice, there is a myth out there that joining hospice, enrolling in hospice, means that you're going to have a nurse or an aide come into your house for the bulk of the day to take care of your loved one, to help them in the bathroom or change them in the bed, or feed them, or whatever it is they need. And that's not true. We do not have enough help, and Medicare does not cover that. So it is important to grow a support system. In my book, I have a chapter devoted to caregiver support, because it is this important to grow a support system, whether it's adult children, whether it's friends who love you, whether it's a book club, whether it's people you used to work with, whether it's your hiking group, and now you have to back out of some of the hikes because you're caring for your dad at home. It's really important to alert the people who love you that your life is shifting in this way. And when people offer help, to be ready to say, oh my goodness, I would love some help. And like, I could name some ideas for you here. I just made a little video of this. Um, be ready to tell them, if you can come over once a week or once a month and give me a couple hours so that I can leave the house, or so that I can go take a nap, or that I can go to the gym, or just go for a walk. There's so many ways that you can be ready when people offer help. Besides that, it's important for a caregiver to take care of themselves. Sometimes caregivers put themselves last, and they need
So
to
true.
make use of the time they have. So when their loved one is asleep, they should be going to sleep. Don't go do the dishes or vacuum or throw in laundry. Maybe your family, siblings can help with laundry. There's a variety of ways to get help. But yes, financially, if you are unable to do some of the care, it's possible to have someone come in a couple hours in the morning to get your loved one out of bed or get them washed up. The same thing at night. Have somebody come for a couple hours. You would be expected to pay someone, $25, $30 an hour to do aid kind of help like that. Yeah, and I just want to say that sometimes people don't understand the difference between palliative care and hospice. Is it okay if I talk about that?
I'd love to, because I don't. I'm one of those
Okay.
people. I'll raise my
Okay.
hand.
All right. So a lot of people are afraid of the H word, hospice, because they think that's for the very end. I'm not ready for that. Jimmy Carter is a good example of someone who's been in hospice now for over a year. Hospice is a wonderful umbrella of services that support people emotionally, spiritually, and medically. And I can talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Palliative care is something that often gets initiated during a hospitalization. So let's say someone was in a car accident and they can no longer walk. They may go to rehab and then they may go home. They might go home with physical therapy or not. But if they have a life-limiting illness, um, a palliative care consult could be requested in the hospital. So if you or your wife were sick with a life-limiting illness in the hospital, before you leave, I would ask for a palliative care consult. If the prognosis, the amount of time they have left to live is less than a couple of years, it's perfectly appropriate to speak to somebody in palliative care so that you can get the emotional, spiritual support when you leave. And the main difference between palliative care and hospice is that in palliative care, you can continue all of the life-saving treatments that you want. If you have cancer, you can absolutely continue chemotherapy, radiation, whatever medications are going to hopefully extend your life.
Mhm.
In hospice, you've made a decision. I don't want to go back to the hospital anymore. I don't want to keep doing dialysis. I don't want all these efforts that are draining my energy. I'm short of breath. I want to be at home and enjoy the time I have, watch the birds and the deer, enjoy my grandchildren, get to that wedding that's in 3 months. Hospice usually needs a prognosis of 6 months or less.
Mhm.
People are referred through a doctor's order. We have different hospice beds all around Rochester, and most cities in America do. There are hospice beds in hospitals. There are hospice beds in skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes. There are hospice beds sometimes in comfort care homes, which is what we have several of in Rochester.
Hmm.
And so a referral can be made, and it's usually a social worker, if the person's in the hospital, would be speaking to the family about where is the best place for your loved one to spend their final days. And I've worked in comfort care homes in Rochester. Referrals can be sent there. They can be
Mhm.
sent, as I said, to a nursing home. And so once the referral is made, there's a process, there's a screening if it's going to be a comfort care home. If someone wants to die in their own home, usually the hospital will make sure that it's a safe discharge plan, that there are people at home to take care of you.
Is
And
there such a thing as an in-home hospice?
well, a comfort care home has 2 beds in Rochester. We have them throughout many of our towns. To be in your own home, it's just considered hospice care at home. But as I said, there's no nurse or aide that's going to come in through the local agency to take care of your loved one. there, if a person is enrolled in hospice locally, I don't want to be confusing. If someone is enrolled in hospice, they are usually enrolled through a local licensed healthcare agency. So for us, Constantine, it would be URMC, Rochester Regional. Those are the two biggest and well-known. And once someone is enrolled in hospice through that agency, they can still go to any of those places: home, comfort care home, skilled nursing facility. And a visiting nurse will come from the agency to offer, all of the support emotionally, mentally. There's a doctor involved. There's an aide who can come if there is enough staff at the agency. They could come, let's say, for an hour and a half, once or twice a day, to help that person get up, get dressed. They're only going to help with care for the person who's dying. They're not going to do laundry for the family or clean the house or anything, but they can give some personal care to the person who's ill. Medications are covered if they are comfort care medications. So medications for anxiety, for nausea, for pain, for constipation, those are all covered. And then a hospital bed would be covered, a bedside commode, those things would all be covered. And when someone has Medicare insurance, all of those Medicare dollars are given to the local to the local licensed agency.
I, you
When
know,
someone is on
I,
Medicare.
you're definitely, I had a few clients kind of go through this process, and I'm thinking about some things that I can remember, and some of the biggest challenges that I have. I think we all struggle with the emotional part of all it. I could plan all day long and have money ready, and that's great, but sometimes our emotions get the best of us. I can remember the last 10 years that, geez, I don't do funerals well. I don't think anybody does funerals well. There's a surge of emotions. You're not sure what to say or how to act or what to do. You want to be there for the family and for the loved ones that have a loss. Um, but I'm thinking, from your end of the spectrum, I mean, most families will go through this once or twice. It's my mom or dad, or maybe a grandparent, or maybe my spouse, or unfortunately a child sometimes. So you go through this a handful of times. You've seen this. You've been through this process many, many times. I'm starting to see more and more of it. I'm going to less weddings and attending more funerals, and that includes my client base, and it's a shame. But I think of all the challenges, and I think mainly on the financial end of the spectrum. I want to ask you a question, and I know we're at the tail end of our show here, but I'd like to leave my clients with this, and maybe some prospects of yours. What do you think the biggest challenges that you help families with while they're going through this process?
I think the most help I'm offering is to reduce anxiety and reduce chaos, because I offer, I really have skills in these areas to know, okay, this is what I'm seeing, this is what we need to do. And I'm known for being able to get things fairly quickly. So it changes, like people always tell me, they just feel like now they're not alone, and they're calmer.
Do they interact with you a little differently than they would a family member that might be a little closer because you're an outsider, I guess I'd say, quote unquote?
Yes, yes. And people tend to trust nurses, which is
For
nice.
sure.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And people trust us.
So, how do people find you? Obviously, the website sounds like you have a book that you've written. When did you write the book?
Yes. The book just came out in December. Yep. It's called Guiding Lights: Navigating the
Fantastic.
End of Life Journey. It's on Amazon. It's also on my um, website. People can see it and order it. Um, yeah, and I have a lot of this information in there. It's not a hard read. It's 86 pages with lots of resources and extra help in appendices at the end.
And
So
so
people
when
reach me through my website, and I do have a cell phone. I can give you that number, but setting up an appointment with me is usually best.
Okay, I'll make sure that in the bio we have a link to your website with all your contact info. And I'm curious, again, coming back to the financial aspect of things, how do people pay for your services? Is it project based? Is it based on the amount of time that you spend with them? How do families pay for your services?
Yeah. So the phone call, the first 20-minute phone call is free. The 2 to 3 hour consultation, they pay me through PayPal, credit card, checks. If I'm going a couple times a week, I prefer payment, once a week. And as I said, it's usually the family who either writes a check or gives me a credit card number. Is that
Is
what you're
that
asking?
hour? Is it based on the hour? I guess as far as what
Once,
they can
once,
expect to pay.
yeah, there's a one-time fee in the first consultation, the 2 to 3
Okay.
hour, is $250.
Mhm.
And after that, if I'm going to the house or I'm on the phone, I do charge an hourly rate.
Here's another thought. When do your services typically end for families? Like I don't know. Does it carry on beyond that? And it's like, where they kind of want to have some additional questions beyond their loved one's passing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to any requests for more support after a loved one dies. I still keep a calendar with a death anniversary, and I try to reach out as that's approaching. I get people connected with the local grief support groups because it's really important. Usually, people aren't ready to talk after a loved one dies. It usually takes 3 to 6 months before they're ready to get involved in a group. But I think it's really important. Um, Losing people is, as you know, really, really tough.
Very
So
tough.
we need all the support we can get. And I'm happy to stay in touch with people, and I do stay in touch with some people. Other people, they have big family support and they never call me again, and that's okay. Or they recommend me to someone else.
I think that's all you can ask for, really.
Yes.
Um, Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for the overview. I know it's kind of a tease on some of the things that you do offer for families going through some tough times with loved ones and making very difficult decisions, and knowing that there's somebody there to help support and guide them through this and been through it many, many times. Jean Oswald from CompassionateConsulting.com. I'll make sure that we have a number of links for your resources and your services. Thank you again for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Constantine.
Fun show. Be well, and we will talk soon. Thanks again, everyone.
You've been listening to Pennywise Financial, brought to you by Monarch Wealth Management. Constantine and David really care about their clients. They want to make sure you're happy, so you'll continue to hire them. There's no commitments, and clients are free to leave whenever they want. Think about being able to pick up the phone and call someone for guidance and advice on almost anything, from buying a car, selling a home, buying vacation properties, or even selling a business. Reach out on the website at monarchwealthmanagement.com. There are 2 offices in Rochester and 2 offices in Buffalo. Reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, or call us toll-free at 800-480-1580. That's 800-480-1580. Until next time, this is Pennywise Financial, signing off.
The opinions voiced in this program are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC.